as well wait, or else nobody even knows it exists, because I was able to tweet it. Oh, here we go. Now it took it. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just. Hi, everybody. I'm still posting something, so I will be with you in just a second. Alan, go ahead and talk.
Are we on right now?
I guess so.
I'm going to have to entertain you folks. What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in. I think Karyn is just going to tweet some stuff out, Facebook some stuff out, that way we get all our normal viewers aware of what's going on.
That's right. I think I put it in there. So how's everybody feeling today? Feeling good? What's that? Okay. Okay, my screen's showing something funky, so I think mine's frozen up here. But if I am in here, then I will say hello and go ahead and see if I can get here on Twitter so that we can talk to you guys live. My screen is definitely not showing, hopefully, what is going out over the internet. But Alan, yesterday was Father's Day, and it looked like you had a good time. Like, you actually went on a whole trip last week. Was that a whole Father's Day trip that you had planned? Is that why you went?
Yeah, it wasn't a Father's Day trip. It was just...
Okay, I can't see anything on my screen. That's why. Wait, it's frozen up. But sorry, Alan, go ahead.
No, all good. Are you able to see me right now? Are you seeing me, Karyn?
I see you, Alan. My screen is just frozen up at home, and so I don't usually we have a split screen, and I just see you. I'm like, my whole thing is frozen, so I'm just trying to listen a way to move so that I'm in here. I see you fine, Alan. Gotcha, I just don't see myself.
I see you, and my split screen is frozen as well. But
okay,
I'll tell the fans real quick. Yeah, last week we went on a last minute, just to kind of get out of LA. Now that things are reopen, we wanted to kind of take advantage of doing a quick vacation before we got back into the grind of things. So we took a RV trip. We rented a 30-foot RV and drove. I don't want to say cross country, but we went Lake Mead, which is in Nevada.
Right.
And from there, we went to Lake Powell, which is in Arizona, for 2 nights. And then from there, we went to the Grand Canyon.
Well, that looked amazing.
Yeah, and then came back, and it was like a 5-day trip. But it was beautiful. It was a fun trip. I've been wanting to kind of do a road trip and rent an RV and kind of just go. And so I was able to check both of those off the list. But, man, it's exhausting when you get back from all that driving. It just kind of hits you because you're so in tune on the road. You drive 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you have to be kind of hyper focused when you have such a big vehicle and your family's in it and all that. So yeah, getting back Friday night, Saturday night was just like kind of staying in bed all day recovering, but it was a super fun trip.
And that's the thing, because we were looking at you driving that, and I assumed maybe like on the farm you had some experience driving big rigs or something, because we're like, that seems like a lot. And like, I'm glad you said that. Actually, that is a mental workout, because you sort of looked like you belonged there and everything. And I'm like, well, whatever. And I figured, yeah, for sure that it was your youth and that like you were driving big John Deere tractors and stuff like that, so that this was no big thing. But so part of me is like glad to hear that it was a little more stressful than that, but I will say you look like a natural. Like, you look like you knew what you were doing.
I love that you envisioned me driving John Deere tractors on the farm, which I did. But yeah, no, I wasn't. I'd never driven an RV before. But I'll tell you this: the route that we went, when we were going through the hills and in these mountains, and they have construction, and they make the lanes one narrow little cone to cone lane. I mean, it's scary. It's scary going through these things, like thinking that you're about to hit something all the time. But if anybody, like any of our viewers or you guys are interested in ever doing it,
you can see.
We went to a place called Road Bear.
I see it.
Here in LA, and
can you see what I see?
There's really not much qualifications at all, to be honest. You go and you rent it. They give you a little walkthrough, and then they hand you the keys. So you just got to figure it out on your own. But anybody can do it. You don't have to have any special driving skills to do it.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, we might do something. Wade may go on a road trip with the little one, but I don't know that I would be, we actually said something about that. We're like, oh, we could rent one of those. Ellen did that. But yeah, I don't think that was going to happen.
What, for you? Why? Because you don't want to drive or you don't like road trips?
Well, he was saying that, yeah, that he thought like he wasn't sure, about driving it. And like you said, that it is a lot of workout. And then the other thing that I was curious about was how much does it take to fill the tank? Like, do you have to stop every 15 minutes to fill the gas tank?
Look, the price that you get a quote. Oh, it's $200 a day to rent this 30-foot RV. You're like, oh, that's not horrible. But when you add in the insurance and you add in the gas.
I can only just see it now, Wade. Sorry.
All the things that come with it, your price doubles. Your price doubles right away. So.
Well, all right. Well, I'm glad that you were able to at least watch the fights. And so people know my whole screen here at home is frozen up. So then I'm trying to look at what's going on the internet and move myself in position to what I'm seeing here. And then the whole thing about how they go backwards. You know what I mean? Like the whole, when you're learning how to be a weather person or whatever. So then everything's backwards. My screen is frozen. And then this is here. So folks, if you're only seeing half my face today, hopefully it's the good half.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even think about it. I don't know if I'm centered either, but let me make an adjustment just in case I'm not being seen as well. There we go.
I can see you now, so I think you're okay. I'm just maybe a little bit off center here. But so anyway, I'm glad that you are back and safe. And like you were saying, everything ramping up. So partly I was thinking, you're back in the grind because folks know that recently you were able to go back to Black House and train. And I know everybody, Alan, it's like every time you post a picture, everybody's like, dude, Alan, when are you fighting again? So do we have another update, or at least can you tell us how training's been going?
A small update. I went to Saxon Muay Thai this morning, my first time jumping back in kind of like a class training environment, and it went great. So I'm still kind of putting the finishing touches on my leg. I'm in month 7, and I want to wait till month 8, where I can really just make sure everything is nice and stable before I start grinding it out. But yeah, right now I'm talking to my manager, and we're thinking end of September. So it's a little bit earlier than I thought, which I'm happy about. I was originally thinking maybe November, but now we're thinking if I could go full systems go within about 4 weeks, that gives me about 2 months to get ready for maybe an end of September card. So once I get the green light, or mentally and physically, I feel I'm able to start grinding out 2-a-days and getting that flip the switch mode, then we're going to call Sean Shelby and start booking a fight, and then I'll let everybody know right away. But sooner than expected. I'm eyeballing September right now.
Cool. Well, that's good news. And you were able to watch the fights this weekend. And I know there was one that was very controversial. And so I'm looking, I'm on the screen. You're over there, Alan. We are kind of funny, but I can't see anything. So this whole thing is funny to me today. So Curtis Blaydes, at the beginning of the week or whenever he had said, hey, folks, news flash, basically he was like, I'm going to try to ragdoll this guy. If you guys are coming here for a stand-up war, you're not going to get it. This is not how I operate, and I plan on ragdolling the guy. So he didn't ragdoll him necessarily, Alan, but certainly it was his wrestling that dominated the whole entire fight. And at the end, definitely I've seen, I was at Curtis's last fight. Where were we? In North Carolina earlier this year or whatever. And it was much more fluid for him. Like, he seemed to have worked way harder in this fight. He seemed way more tired at the end of this one. But again, then still comes out and, is very confident that he is the best wrestler. And it was a decisive win. And I know you have the same coach as Alexander Volkov in Kenny. So I'm just curious if you spoke to him or what you thought about how this was, because we knew he was just going to wrestle him.
Yeah. This is, first of all, you look at Volkov and you see his style, and you look at Blaydes, you see his style. You knew what was going to happen. We knew. Right. Why would you not take the path of least resistance? Of course, Blaydes is going to throw that overhand out there now and then try the uppercuts, try to land some shots. But is he going to put himself in danger and try to make it a back and forth stand-up war? No, he's going to take him down. The guy has so many takedowns. We know he's set the record right now in the UFC in the heavyweight division. He's climbing the all-time record right now in takedowns. But looking at Volkov, he's a guy that's very, I don't want to say easy to take down, but it's manageable. He's a guy with that type of height, and then his wrestling skills, it's manageable to take him down, especially, these guys are fighting in a smaller octagon.
Right.
So you have this 25-foot octagon where we're seeing all these great battles, and you put two enormous men in there, one who's 6'7", and the other one who's a profound wrestler, Blaydes. So you knew it was going to happen. You brought up my coach, Kenny Johnson. Not saying that Volkov doesn't work his wrestling year-round, which he probably does, but it puts Kenny in kind of a tough place because Volkov doesn't train at Black House. He trains in Russia or wherever he trains with his team. But when he comes to the States, he knows that he can rely on Kenny. He's a great coach. He could always polish up the wrestling the week before, and they have a rapport together. Right. But is Kenny going to be able to make drastic changes and make sure that everything is pinpoint before the fight, during fight week only? No. Right. And so I kind of hate seeing this. I put myself in his shoes. If I was a wrestling coach, and this is my reputation on the line, it's great that big-name UFC fighters reach out to Kenny when he's available. But when they don't have the display and the performance that Kenny would want out of them because they're not training with Kenny full-time, it could almost kind of hurt Kenny Johnson's reputation. I wouldn't want to go as far as saying is that Volkov had a bad wrestling performance. I don't think, even if he'd have grinded out 2 or 3 months at Black House, I don't know how drastically different the outcome, just because of the style that these guys have, the body type that they have. But you could see a little bit of a change in momentum. The first round or two, I mean, Blaydes was getting the takedown within 15 seconds. Yeah. And we were like, oh, my God, we know what kind of fight this is going to be. Right. But going into the fourth round, Karyn, I want to ask you, did you think that the momentum, the tides might be turning? You saw how tired Blaydes was from doing these takedowns repeatedly, and Volkov seemed to kind of find his win. I thought there might be a change-up coming in the fifth round. It didn't happen, but did you suspect something else might happen?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Actually, Alan, before I answer that, I want to tell you I figured something out. The reason I was off the screen is because we're reversed on where we're broadcast. And so usually I sit on the other side and I sit a certain way. So now you need to do the opposite of what you usually do because we're reversed. So the way you usually sit, go to the other side, and I switched to the other side, and I think I'm centered now. And that was the whole thing, is because we got reversed. And so that's why every time I moved to my normal spot, I was moving further and further away. But I think we have it now. So yeah. Okay, so yes, to your point, I did think there was going to be, yes, I think we're good now, a tide change. And it's interesting because I was thinking of the time when Volkov was fighting the Black Beast, and it was the other thing where he was winning the whole entire time and then lost it at the very end. And so, you know, I was starting to wonder about fight IQ is one of those things, you know, that starts to come in there. But then the fact that, like you said, it did start to seem that this time, the longer it went, that Volkov was going to, like, do better in this one. So I thought it was going to work out for him. And also the takedowns they were a little less frequent, right, as they went on, because Curtis was getting more tired. But yeah, to your point about Volkov's build, you know, we've seen it before with somebody like Stefan Struve. We know we've seen some of these really, really tall guys. And there is a part of me that when I'm watching him, I'm wondering, like, could he play basketball, or did this guy ever try volleyball? Can he play tennis? Like, because he'd be phenomenal, you know, if you have that kind of right. If people look at like Djokovic, and some of these tennis players are incredibly tall. But anyway, it was really, to your point about wrestling defense, and when you are that tall and when your hips are already 4.5 feet off the ground, you know what I mean? I'm like, dude, like, it's going to be really hard to have amazing takedown defense when you're that tall. I think it just seems like it would be really difficult. It's difficult.
I was questioning whether the smaller octagon at first would hurt him or maybe benefit him, because normally it hurts you because you're able to are not able to evade as much, right? A bigger octagon, a 30-foot octagon, you can dance, you can take 2 steps back and then change angles. The smaller octagon, especially with the heavyweights, they take 2 steps back, they're on the cage automatically. So, but I was wondering, would the cage be able to help him? Because then you use that cage as the third leg and it helps you kind of stay upright. It didn't help him, though. It seemed like the 2 steps back, he was already being hoisted in the air. Yeah. And in the process of taking down. I mean, Blaydes was able to land some really nice double legs. When he wasn't able to get the double leg in the air, he was able to trip him right away on the cage and then drag him back to the center of the octagon, where then Volkov had no chance of getting up. Right. But I will credit Volkov. We saw the third and the fourth round, he was starting to get a bead on Blaydes' takedowns, and he was starting to throw those hips in there and evade and bring him back up with the double underhooks. And so it was starting to work, but the wrestling mindset is to keep going, to keep grinding, to chain wrestle. And Blaydes does that so well. He misses one, misses another, throws heavy hands, makes you respect that, and he dives under again and eventually gets it. I got to say, I thought it was a good performance. It's not one that's memorable, but it's one that needed to be the way that it was. Dana White wasn't that happy with the with the performance after, but I thought Dana was being hard on him. You know, there was rumors that Dana was saying that because Blaydes was involved in the fighter pay talk. And Dana said that I wasn't aware of this, that apparently Blaydes had talked a lot of trash in the week, in the lead up to it. But I didn't really see any of that. I didn't really see any of the trash talk. Did you?
Well, there was the thing about the women fighters. And he tried to clarify those remarks. Basically, long story short, he had basically said something about, you know, a lot of he thinks some of the girls that are in the UFC are there because of their looks and not because of their skill set. And he was basically saying, you know, it's a shame that you might have a talented woman who isn't attractive not get in the UFC because an attractive girl can get in whose skill set isn't there, but she's marketable, right? So his comment was about that. Yeah.
Dana.
Yeah. Blaydes.
Oh, I was like, Dana said that?
Yeah, no, so that was the whole thing. So he's like, look, I'm not saying I don't like women's MMA. He was saying, I think it's upsetting that there are people here who aren't evolving and getting better, and they're given marquee positions on a card, let's say, you know what I mean, over a man who might be more skilled, or over another woman who might be more skilled but less attractive. That basically, I guess, was the essence of his thing.
That is a very risky thing to say right now, you know.
Right.
The people are very sensitive right now, first of all. And I would say there's a smidgen of truth to that possibly, but putting that out there,
yeah,
you're going to be a bad guy. It's not a good look. It wasn't a smart thing for him to say. Sure, there's a smidgen of truth to that.
Right.
But like, it seems like he's almost, you know, being that we had last weekend, was it that we had two women headlining
2 weekends in a row, because we had Amanda, you know, the weekend before, and then we had Cynthia Calvillo winning the next week. Yeah, so 2 weeks in a row with women at the top, and you're like, dude, bro.
And there was also seemed to be a large number of women fights as well. And some of those cards, they had 2 or 3 women fights on the main card as well. So bringing that up right now, the women who have fought in the last month got to be thinking, is he talking directly to me? And that's very disrespectful. Yeah, that's not a good look for him. I understand there may be a smidgen of truth to it, but it's something you need to just keep to yourself right now.
Yeah, and he's also, you know, I think partly too is that, you know, I'm looking here just on some of these stories about, you know, like them going back and forth with Dana, and, you know, Curtis obviously is trying to get to the title shot, and he's frustrated, and he is winning fights and stuff like that. So you can understand a little bit of the frustration. He does say that, you know, he was happy with the fight and it was dominant, and he needs to work on his gas tank and stuff like that. But, you know, I guess part of it, here they're saying that Dana said you look stupid for not delivering on the trash talk. I mean, because he did say he would ragdoll him. And I guess, you know, it was, since he didn't really ragdoll him, it was dominant, but it wasn't like as dominant. Yeah.
That's, you know, that's let me explain this real quick. This is the reason that 90% of the fighters in the UFC don't talk a lot of trash. That's why when Conor McGregor came in, it was so eye-opening, because he would talk so much trash and be so confident and be able to back it up. The worst feeling in the world is talking a lot of trash and then not delivering, eating your own words, not coming through, looking like a fool. Look, Blaydes had a great performance. It wasn't the most memorable one, but it was a great performance. But then now we're talking about this because he set it up so high. He kind of put his foot in his mouth with the women's MMA thing, and then that caused Dana to come down on him rather than applauding him from his performance.
Right. Well, let's see if we have any comments here. So, and thank you, Joe. Some of these people are like, no, we can see you. And Tommaso is saying you're looking handsome today, Alan. So good for you. And they're happy that, happy you were able to get in some vacation time and stuff like that. So yes, thank you, Little Snoop and Joe Bose, all you guys that are here are regulars. But yeah, so I mean, a good win for Curtis, and he's on a streak. I had the stats here. He's tied now, I believe, for the longest winning streak in the heavyweight division, and he's putting up great numbers. I mean, that's the thing. We've known that in the past, right? I mean, isn't that the sort of same complaint? I'm not going to compare him to George St. Pierre necessarily, but you know, we've seen that complaint with wrestling heavy fighters before, that people sometimes just complain about him, but you know, he's doing his thing. Wrestling is a great base for the sport. We know that. It's like you can bitch about it or you can learn to wrestle.
You know what's interesting about it too, Karyn, is we hear this kind of conversation about the wrestler who only looks for the takedown. And we as we're talking about now with Blaydes and his performance, but we don't hear that when it comes to Khabib. And it's a bit because of he has such a big draw. So many people are just even if he's only wrestling, so many people are tuned in that it makes every second like, look what he's doing now.
Right.
But B, the difference in Khabib is not only is he one of the best takedown artists, but he's one of the best ground and pound artists. I really find him to be one of the best. As soon as he takes you down, he's working, he's securing the base hand, he's punching you with the other hand, always working. And so that's the kind of the element that for these heavy wrestlers in the UFC, I'm not pinpointing this on Blaydes, but just in general, these heavy wrestlers in the UFC, they could learn from Khabib. If they're going to have a heavy wrestling game, always make sure you're progressing, trying to end the fight and doing damage. That way people aren't yawning and having these conversations after your fight.
Yeah, and I will also add another name, Gregor Gillespie. On a smaller note, and I know Gregor did get knocked in the head by Kevin Lee, but prior to that, Gregor was a guy who used his wrestling incredibly, but he always went for the finish at the end. And that was the whole thing. Yeah. He's like, I'm not going to be a quote unquote boring wrestler. I'm going to use it like crazy and I'm going to maul the dude. But when it comes time to it, I'm going to ground and pound and I'm going to finish you up. And so a lot of the time he ends up getting a TKO or something because, he's putting the finish on. So if Curtis could add some more finishes there, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. Gregor's a great example of a guy looking to finish it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, cool. I wanted to say, I thought there was some other records that Curtis had set with this, but so that's it. He now ties Francis Ngannou and Augusto Sakai for the longest active UFC win streak in the heavyweight division. So that's 4 in a row. So that's cool. So he's got 10. Derek Lewis has 10 wins overall in the UFC heavyweight division. Curtis and Francis now have 9. So that's cool.
Yeah, and an interesting little tweak that maybe Blaydes could make as well as I saw when the fight was starting that he came in heavier than normal for this fight, or at least heavier than his last fight. I want to say it was roughly, give or take, about 10 pounds heavier, 8, 9, 10 pounds heavier than his last fight. And it could be due to training, or it could be thought out that way, that he wanted to be heavy if he was going to be the top position guy to make sure he could hold down Volkov.
True. Right.
And so it played a good part. He was able to take him down pretty easily in the first couple of rounds, but also it might have bit him in the end, because there's those later rounds carrying that extra 10 pounds of weight did make fatigue. Granted, we're talking about 25 minutes of fighting. I've done that before. It is tiring. It's exhausting. Those last 2 rounds, you have to push, you have to dig deep. But we did see a guy that doesn't really show much signs of fatigue start to fatigue. Right. So maybe going back down to the lighter, more natural weight for him is better in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, because Curtis also trains at altitude out in Colorado and stuff like that. So, it's funny because I actually took a few pictures of the screen because he looked beat like after the fight, like he could barely get through that interview. And I thought, that was unusual because Curtis doesn't usually look that fatigued.
You know what? I forgot all about that interview. I thought the man was going to pass out on live TV right there. I hope they checked him out good. He was exhausted right there. Yeah. It shows you he probably was digging. Like, I know what that feeling is of being in the red line and continuing. And he was probably in that the entire 5th round just trying to survive and do work. And you can see it in that interview, which is probably, in that interview, which was probably, 5 minutes after the fight. Right. And he still could not even catch his breath enough to put together a complete sentence. So the man worked hard. He was exhausted after the fight.
Yeah, he absolutely did. I know we don't have as much time for everything today. There was a controversy with the cornering, but before we get to that, though, I loved the Burgos Emmett fight. Like, I don't know how you felt about that one. That thing was awesome. I actually, at the beginning, though, was like, all right, awesome, folks, this one's not going to last, like, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, okay, so my bad. I have to eat my words. Like, it actually did go the distance, but yay. I loved that. I thought that was great.
Sick fight. Sick fight. The chins on both men. Right. We've seen what happens when Emmett connects. Okay, he puts people's lights out. That knockout over Michael Johnson, that should have been a knockout of the year nominee, that didn't even get the bonus that night. I still remember us talking about that.
Yeah.
But he connects, man. He's fought one of my teammates, Christos Thiagos. He told me how hard he hits. But both men were landing bombs that continued to stay in the fight. Fun fight. I really, really hope that Josh Emmett, they suspect that he possibly tore his ACL. That was a cornerman saying something during the fight, and granted, his cornermen are educated.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had the injury. That's probably why they know. I've had 2 torn ACLs. I know how it looks. I'm just hoping that that's not the case, because I know the feeling of getting momentum and then being crushed by the injury, because the injury of ACL is a good. I'm in it right now, guys. You're talking about 9 months probably before he'll be back. So whatever momentum that he has just now, he's looking for that top 5, top 10 main event type slot. It'll be taken away from him with the ACL. So let's pray that nothing happened. He can continue on.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, he's taken a beating in the past too, and come back. He got his orbital broken and all that, I believe, right, that time?
He's a tough guy. Also, I don't know if you remember his UFC debut, I believe it was. He won the fight, pretty impressive performance, and he went to the locker room, and he had broken his pinky, and the bone was sticking out of his pinky, but he continued to fight the entire fight with it, went to the locker room, was laughing. Like, the guy's tough as nails.
Yeah, he is tough as nails. So like I said, I want to get to the controversy, but one thing I also have to point out, I really loved seeing Tecia Torres and Raquel Pennington win on the same card. Oh, yeah. I thought that was really great. And for people, obviously, if you follow the sport, you know that they are a couple. And there was something really cute, I guess, too, about the shorts, because it is Pride Month. Oh, yeah. And I guess Tecia had the idea of doing the name in the rainbows. And supposedly, from what I read or whatever, that supposedly then she was mentioning it to Rocky. And then Rocky mentioned it to Dana. And Dana was like, I love it. And then Dana mentioned it to Reebok. And then so they had it. So I thought that was great for them to be able to fight on the same card and to like just be such a positive. It was just such a positive night for them. You could tell. And then I don't know if you saw later, she posted a picture. There was a picture with them and Jillian, and also with Lauren, and just like 4 girls, like they all had great nights and they won. And it was a real, it just felt really good. It was just like a really good, like lady bonding thing. And I was psyched for all of those girls on the card, but especially for Tecia and Rocky. I thought that was really cute that they both got the win, because I would imagine that'd be a lot of pressure, you know, especially Tecia went first, like, all right, I got to set the stage. I don't want to lose because I don't want to ruin it for, you know, I don't want to ruin her headspace later. But Tecia tore it up. Tecia Torres, whatever. I mean, I thought she was so aggressive, so fun. Anyway, I enjoyed that. I liked seeing both those girls win.
I agree. To have, I mean, to fight with your partner, your wife, whoever it is, on the same card, the same night. You're saying it. You don't want to lose first and then have bad energy for the next fight. Where both girls looked great. They're gonna go and celebrate after. It'll be it'll be red panty night at the Torres. I couldn't help it. I was holding back, but it's gonna be a celebration at that household after the fight.
Nice. Red panties all around. Yeah.
Oh man.
I love it. All right. So listen, Alan, we have to get to the controversy. I know Robert Drysdale. I don't know if you know him. He is a jiu-jitsu coach. He's an incredible jiu-jitsu athlete himself. This man actually fought for a little while too, but you know, the cornering for this, long story short, his fighter Max gets a short notice fight against Austin Hubbard, goes out there, has an okay round. You know, the first one, he's like more competitive, but the second round, Austin Hubbard really started just landing so much more. And basically it goes the way where Max Rohskopf, I don't want to pronounce his name incorrectly, but between rounds, he's like, bro, I'm done. Like, I can't fight anymore. I'm done. I don't have anything left. And Drysdale's going, no, you don't. I mean, yes, you do. No, you're not going to quit. You're going to keep going. Long story short, the fight gets waved off in between rounds. A lot of people are mad at Robert Drysdale for trying to push a fighter out there who said he didn't want to fight. A lot of people are mad at the fighter for saying, holy crap, look at this opportunity you had and you effing quit. What is that? And then other people are like, hey, listen, all good, bro. Short notice fight. You don't want to go out there and take unnecessary damage. All good. So I'm curious what your take is.
This is a tough one. We got to really look into this one. I'm not going to dissect it too much, but this is different than the other fights that we've talked about recently with Smith, where he was taking excessive damage. It wasn't getting any better. And he was actually taking, you know, like punching holes in his ticket of how well he's going to perform in the future. Okay, right. I didn't see that in this fight. I didn't see a guy taking excessive amounts of damage. Did he lose the second round more drastically than he lost the first round? Yes. Was his offense slowing down? Yes. Was his confidence slowing down? Yes. But it wasn't like the fight was never going to turn around. He could have totally come back in the third round and got that submission. I didn't get to see this fight live. I saw the corner react. I saw the corner cam from the referee cam first, and I was so drawn into it. I mean, it was very intense seeing Drysdale trying to plea and urge his fighter to fight, and his corner just insisting, no, man, please. And he was pleading as well to stop it, to stop it, to stop it. And so when I first saw that, I felt bad for the fighter because it's the corner's job to take that burden away from us.
Right.
We don't like to quit. We're trained not to quit.
Right.
And when the corner sees that we need to quit, they should kind of take the hit for us, right? All right, he's done.
I'm taking it out of your hands, Alan. I'm my call. You got it. Yeah, you got to stop. You got it.
Yeah, we don't have to, I don't have to wave the white flag. Let my manager, my coach do that business decision rather than us showing defeat and like hurting our confidence. And so that's how I felt at first. Then this morning I went back and I watched the fight. And the fight told a bit of a different story in my mind because he was in it in the first round.
Yep.
Second round, as soon as he came in with an Imanori roll and got into good position, and then he couldn't finish the submission. And as soon as he couldn't finish that, he gave up on himself. And mentally, he wasn't in it. The rest of that round, he was just getting punched in the face and kind of losing his confidence. And that's when he went back to the corner. And so what I'm getting at is his mind was made up. He didn't want to win, or he didn't want to continue. But his mind was made up a minute, 30 seconds into the second round. It was going into the corner that he had that conversation. And so I'm not mad at Robert because Robert Drysdale saw the same thing that I saw and said, look, let's snap out of it. The reason that this isn't a 15-minute street fight is because it's a professional sport where we can come back and change your momentum, strategize, make a change that we saw and help you get better in the next round. So he could have come back in the third round and turned the tides, landed something, done something. And if it wasn't happening, maybe then they could have thrown in the towel or something if he was taking excessive damage. But what I'm saying is I see it really down the middle. Robert is right for trying to urge his guy on because also, let me think about this. This was a short notice fight, about 10 days notice. So Robert Drysdale probably put his name on the line and said, look, I got a guy. He's a killer. I know he's only 5-0, but trust me, this guy's exciting. He does crazy jiu-jitsu. He's the guy that's made for the UFC. Robert put his name out there. His fighter comes in, is not delivering. So he's urging both of them, don't pass on this opportunity. You're going to regret it later in life, and it hurts me as well. What I do knock Robert Drysdale for, and I'm going to wrap this up right here, after he has told you 9 times, I don't want to fight, then you cannot push the guy off the cliff. You have to say, okay, it's done. When Robert told him, he said, listen to me, man, do you really want to quit? He goes, I'm done. That should have been the one where he goes, all right. But I get Robert. I would do the same thing. I would tell my guy, you're a champion. You could push through this. You have a shot. But like I said, it comes down to the point where the guy looks you in the eyes and says, no, I don't want to be. He literally said, I don't want to be here no more.
Right.
And so that's the point you have to pull the plug. But I'm drawing down the middle. Like I said, about halfway, it should have been stopped. But people that are coming down tremendously hard on Robert, I got to defend them. We're here to get pushed by our coaches. Like I said, I've broken bones in fights 3 times. And I go back to the corner. They go, yo, you've got 7 other weapons. And I go out there and I win the fight. So I've been pushed when I thought I couldn't push harder. And my coaches do that. So I have to applaud him for trying. He should have maybe capped it off a bit sooner, though.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts. I know you disagree.
It's hard because it's a lot, right? It's a lot.
I get it's sad to see, though. It's sad to see a guy pleading. It was hard to watch that. I agree.
It's a lot. So it's a lot of things for me. And I might move backwards here on your point about Robert maybe putting his name on the line as well. Yes, I hadn't really considered that, but that's also not the point. At that point, it's not about Robert, unfortunately. And like I said, I know him. I like him.
I agree.
At that point, it isn't about him. And also, I think he has enough of a relationship with the UFC that I think that they would still call him again for another guy. But you're right. He is probably thinking, oh man, I'm telling these guys, yeah, I got a bunch of killers in here. And, so I think that could have been a factor. I don't necessarily have a problem with Robert trying to urge him to keep fighting. Initially, because I agree with you. That's what your coach is supposed to be for. How many times, have we been, I don't have it anymore. I was playing tennis this morning and I know I'm not a professional athlete, but back in my day, Alan, I was all varsity, all 4 years, all 3 sports. And I Yeah, I did. And so I know sometimes I was like, yeah, coach, I don't have that. Like, she's like, yeah, you do. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh yeah, actually I do have it. Right. And so I would have been mad if I quit and I actually still had it in me to go out and do whatever and contribute and win and help win. So I agree that a coach is supposed to motivate you and push you when you think you can't be pushed sometimes. But after he said, I'm done X amount of times, I think you had to honor that. And you did have to honor the fact that, yeah, like you said, and maybe even more so if I saw that my fighter had given up, because now I know you really could get hurt too. Because if you're just tired and I'm like, come on, Alan, buck up, camper, you dig. And I know you're actually still together though, and maybe won't get hurt. You're just tired. That'd be one thing. But if I thought that like, okay, you kind of already gave up on yourself, you're tired, your hands are going to be low, this guy's starting to tee off on you, and I thought you were now in real danger too, that's what I don't like. And if you remember, because I actually watched it again too, I actually was jumping rope when the prelims were on. And so I remember jumping, and I was like, wait, what's happening here? You know, like in between. And then I watched it again today, same thing. And I was like, yeah, you could see that Austin was really warming up and getting going. And then you hear John and Dom and Mike are like, Austin looks like he's having a great time in there. Like, because they were just like, it's getting to the point where Max was so much slowing down that it was only going to be like, how is Austin going to finish it? Like, it was almost like dealer's choice. You know what I mean? Like, he could do whatever he wanted in their third round. So I could understand. I personally didn't want to see Max fight anymore, because the way he was so vehement about not wanting to go back out there, and how badly he did start to get tagged in that second round. I was like, I don't need to see anymore. But I'm not necessarily 100% all the way mad at Robert Drysdale either.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel. I feel like Robert did the right thing.
Yeah.
He just didn't pump the brakes soon enough. He did the right thing.
Right.
But when they had that eye-to-eye moment where he literally asked him, dude, do you really want to do this?
Right.
He goes, you're going to regret it. He goes, I can't fight. That's when he should have. Yeah. Knowing his fighter, he should have known his fighter and said, he really wants out, but he didn't give him a way out. But, you know, I'm going to be harder on him, because I know I've been in those situations where the you know, every fight I'll get tagged and I go, damn, do I want to be in here? And then I go, but like, F that, I'm fighting back. Like, I get mad. And so we deal with that all the time as fighters. When we go back to the corner and we have a bad round, we have to find a way to reset the button. And I'm a little tougher on Max, because, you know, I saw this morning Tim Crater, who runs and owns Gladiators Academy in Lafayette, longtime jiu-jitsu black belt and coach. He's putting ads out there, not ads, but posts out there with his fighters saying, look, we're seeing in this time right now with this quarantine type fight, UFC Apex time, where there's a lot of short notice fights happening, guys getting opportunities, mismatches. It's just kind of a different time right now. This isn't the normal UFC. We're seeing guys with smaller records, less experience, get opportunities because of everything going on. The whole roster is not ready right now. It's only a smaller percentage. And then even of that smaller percentage, guys are getting hurt, coaches are getting COVID-19, etc. So people have to stay ready. So other coaches saw that performance, and they're like, F that, my guy would not.
My guy's good, right?
There. And so I'm being a little tough on him, because I know that position. When I was trying to get into UFC and I saw people that were getting the call before me not perform, I was calling my manager saying, dude, let them know I will never give up. And so the fighter in me is a little tougher on him. So that I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not being tough on Max, but I will say this. In a respectful way, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for the UFC just yet. He needed a couple more LFA type fights against higher caliber. You can see it in his striking. He was kind of a one punch type striker, one submission move type guy. He didn't really know how to stay in there and weather the storm by a well-rounded guy. And we saw that as he got into the later rounds.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was part of it anyway, that I said that there was that third factor anyway, which is the other fighters that are like, bro, that's an incredible opportunity that you blew. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what he thinks, the next time he fights. And it is a short notice opportunity. And so on the one hand, you could say, hey, I rose to the occasion and I took this opportunity and I fought through it. But the fact that he quit on that opportunity was also, though, like, he's being honest, I'm not ready. And I mean, do you really want to go out there and get demolished? I mean, what would you rather have be your entree? Like, yeah, the first time I came to the UFC, it was a short notice fight. I was starting to get beat up, and I fully admit I quit on it. Or my first UFC fight was my last UFC fight because I couldn't walk after. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I'll take the quit.
Yeah, I don't know. Most fighters probably wouldn't.
I know it's hard. It's hard because I say that, but too because I know, I equivalently, there's certain things in my life of opportunities of things that I would like to do that I'm like, oh, if I had the opportunity, like, there's no way I would blow it, and there's no way I would give it up, and there's no way I wouldn't do it, and there's no way I wouldn't crush it. But, Hey, they haven't given me that late night television show yet, Alan. But when they do.
I've been to auditions where they put you in front of a camera and they say, okay, start dancing with no music. Right. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm walking out of this damn room. I'm not making a fool out of myself. And then I go, damn it, I can't waste this opportunity. And I make a fool out of myself. And that's just shit that happens in Hollywood, people. That's Hollywood life. But what I'm saying is sometimes you just got to go and just do it. You don't want to miss that opportunity. I get it. He was saving himself. Again, I'm not dissing him or making a comparison to that, right. But yeah, the fighters that are waiting in line, 99% of them would have said, I'd go out there and die on my shield. I would get knocked out rather than show the UFC that I wasn't fully in it. And so that was an opportunity that he missed.
And I guess too, if I'm going to be a little harsh on him, there is that whole idea of like, tide can turn with one punch. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I played team sports, and I play tennis and stuff now, but like, if I'm on the baseball field and we're losing by 10 runs and it's the bottom of the 8th, like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But you're right. One punch can change everything. He could have sank in a sub. Like, that's hard. And especially with Drysdale being a jiu-jitsu guy, knowing that, like, shoot, it can be 4 minutes and 59 seconds and you can still win. Like, that's hard.
And Robert was giving him good advice. He goes, dude, just go in there and get a takedown and lay on him. Get your confidence. Like, he was saying, like, it's very possible because the guy was a wrestler and a jiu-jitsu guy. Like, if he had just gone in there, got a quick takedown, and just kind of rode the back for a while, maybe the submission pops up. Like, so I get what Robert was seeing, but I agree with you 100%. On that 9th time, it should have done it. Don't make the fighter, because at the end of the day, you know what happened? The referee, everybody heard everything. And then right before the round started, the referee went up and goes, do you want to fight? And he goes, no. And he put it on the fighter, and that's the toughest thing, making the fighter admit defeat. Well,
right. And like you said, at that point, if you're my coach, we should have worked out a look. This is my I'm done look, and I don't have to say it look. And you're right. And like the coach is supposed to look out for him. So I don't know how long those two have worked together. Right. But yeah, you are supposed to take the hit for your guy. You're right.
I'll be interested to see, like, not saying that their relationship deteriorates, but like what happens with them after this? Is that trust there? But you said it. How long have they worked together? Because we don't know. I'm just assuming. But Vegas is known for people that come and they'll come and train at Roberts for Drysdale for a little bit, or they'll go to 10th Planet, or they'll go to Couture. People bounce around and stuff. So we don't know if he's been with Robert for 5 years, or they just a year ago.
Right. I wanted to see if anybody had any comments on this, and we got a little donations. Thank you, Little Snoop here. Little Snoop was actually, I know we are going to get out of here relatively soonish, but Jim Miller also, speaking of submissions, speaking of jiu-jitsu, Jim Miller doing it for the old dogs, and we had to love when he won, because like all the old UFC people are like, that's one for the old man, and all this stuff, and but it's hard not to like him. Like, he's just still doing it. I was happy to see that. And, he's fought through Lyme disease and all kinds of stuff. So I was happy to see Jim get another win there, too.
Yeah, no, he's super impressive. He's an OG. Also, Bobby Green, man.
Yes, Bobby.
I know when Clay Guida fights, 95% of the people root for him because he's so likable. He's like the blue-collar, funny guy. They slap him. He burps in between rounds. But I was going for Bobby Green.
So was I.
Yeah, I know Bobby Green from a regional circuit here in LA. We've done the show together at UFC Now, and I've always liked Bobby. He fought one of my teammates like 10, 15 years ago and beat him, and I was impressed with Bobby. But he's got a swagger, he's got a style where he always feels comfortable. He reminds me almost of like a Jorge Masvidal, where he's very comfortable on his feet, on the ground, wherever you take the fight. And so I was rooting for him. I was happy to see him get that win. And then who knew? I didn't know Bobby Green had a white dad. That I didn't know his whole childhood story. Yeah. So he had a very emotional and intriguing post-fight interview. But I was just happy for him to get the win, and glad that he had a moment with his father on TV as well after.
Yeah, I too was rooting for Bobby, and I love Clay. He's a great guy, and same thing. Like I just like the veterans in there anyway. But I also was rooting for Bobby, but partly just because he's had some close calls. He's had a tough go of it, right? Just in life, he's had a tough go of it. And then he's lost some fights that were really close, and the split decision goes the other way, and just like really bad stuff. And then the last time I was in Sao Paulo in November, he lost his passport like on the bus on the way home, and like Bobby's had a hard time. So I just was like, and he, remember then he was like, I'm going to quit. He was going to retire, all this stuff. And so really, I was just really hoping for him to not quit because he is so good. And it's funny because Dominic was even saying, he's like, look, I know a lot of people might think this is silly, but I'm telling you, this is a main event caliber fight coming up here when he's talking about him and Clay. And it's true. The skill level, the amount of fight I like, between the two of them, what did they say? They'd had like 50-something fights, 60-something fights, like so much between them. And the fact that they'd never fought before, it just was a lot going on, a lot for Bobby that I thought in this time, especially too, there's just so much going on in the world. I really wanted him to get a win. Sometimes you just want one for your friend just to keep him afloat, right? Because sometimes there's people that that like, yo, man, one more bad thing and I don't know. So for me, it was really hoping like a positive lifeline out there for him. And I'm glad it worked out for him. Also, our buddy Bilal Bully B.
Oh, yeah.
He was also victorious over Lyman Good. You want to talk about a heartache here, right? So Lyman's father had passed away like a week before, and he's out there with a heavy heart. And Bilal, his father's store had gotten destroyed in the Black Lives protest, Black Lives Matter protests. Like, there's just a lot going on, right? You know what I mean? And so going into that fight too, so much emotion. Bilal was able to pull off the win, but Lyman came on really strong in the last round. And, afterwards he was just saying, I'm sorry, my heart wasn't in it. I'm like, dude, what? Like what? Like, thank you for even showing up to fight and putting that on for us. I actually can't imagine what it's like because unfortunately I've lived through that. And then to have it also on Father's Day weekend and all that, I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah,
you're a hero for even showing up.
and both fights we just spoke about, Bobby Green, Clay Guida, and then also Bilal. I didn't know who was going to win that fight, to be honest. I watched both of them, but I kept thinking, I don't know which way the judges are going to call this. And I was kind of surprised, to be honest, with both of them. Because I thought, man.
I thought Bilal won the first 2 rounds.
Okay, he won the first. Because I wasn't sure about like the second round with Bilal, and in the third round, I think he kind of got hurt.
No, he lost the third round, big time, yeah.
And so I remember thinking, shit, did Bilal just lose this fight? And then when they called his name, I was like, I was happy for him. But yeah, both of those, I didn't know which way they were going to go because, like you said, Bobby Green, he's had some bad decisions go the wrong way. So I was happy for him to get that win. Yeah,
but it's tough because same thing with the Bilal fight. If they had said that was a draw, I'd have been like, because those rounds were really, really close. And I wasn't 100% confident either way. And then you could see, the round 3 was definitely Lyman's. And I was like, this is a toss-up. I didn't know who won.
Bilal did a great job, especially rounds 1 and 2. But with footwork, he every time he would get cut off, Bilal would change the angle, change his stances. He had great footwork in that fight.
Yeah, I just sounded like I contradicted myself saying I didn't know who won. I didn't know who they were going to say won. I did personally think that Bilal took 2 rounds, but but when it came down to the judging, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Alan, I don't know. On Saturday, it's like this guy Dan Hooker and Poirier. Are they even any good? Do they even throw any punches?
Man, you talk about a fun matchup. Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier. I saw today that Dustin Poirier is a heavy favorite. Or that's, whatever. He's not the underdog, that's for sure. And I tend to agree, but I hate when that is the case. I hate when somebody tells me you're the big favorite or this or that, because it puts pressure and it's looking over the other opponent. Dan Hooker is super dangerous. But thinking about this fight, I've got to think that Dan Hooker is an amazing fighter, but his overall game isn't as consistently tight as Dustin Poirier is. And what I mean by that is when you look at the Dan Hooker fight against Paul Felder, Dan Hooker has some big moments, but he's not consistently active throughout the entire round. He looks for that high knee that he's landed before on other people. He looks for that high knee a lot. He looks for the leg kicks and some big punches. But in between those, if that's not happening, people like Paul Felder were able to kind of bite down in their mouthpiece and tiptoe forward and land stuff and start changing the momentum of the fight. Dustin Poirier is a master at that. I've studied Dustin for years. We're both from Lafayette, obviously, so I've watched a lot of his fights. Dustin is one of the best guys in the UFC at just tucking his chin, popping the jab, throwing a left hand, switching stances, continuing to walk forward, and just touch until he can land the big shot, put you in the cage, and then tries to take you out. So I think Hooker, if you ask me, would have a little bit of a tough time. You saw the way that Paul Felder was able to come back on Dan Hooker. I think you can see something like that, but multiplied even faster. It happening, Hooker having a good 1 or 2 rounds, but I think Dustin Poirier starts to kind of creep up and turn the tide the 3rd, 4th, and 5th type round. So that's just how I see it. But either way, what a fun fight. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a good one. This is kind of like something this is a fight that I'm excited. Like, as soon as I realized it was fight week for this fight, I was like, oh, yeah. And then the co-main event, which to me doesn't really make sense, but I'm very excited to see that one with Mickey Gall and Mike Perry as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, what's the co-main again? I can't remember. And that one is interesting. And I know you trained with Mickey, and I know you fought Mike, and Mike's a character, and Mickey, and like, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Where did that matchup come from to be like?
I guess smack talk. I don't know, but I'm here for it. Like, I like 100%. Both dudes, so I'm watching both those guys. But yeah, to your point about Hooker and Poirier, because Hooker is so good, and he's like you can't get rid of him. And I agree with your breakdown, and I think that in so many ways, like Dustin has the boxing edge and the finesse edge and the experience, the championship rounds, all that stuff. But you can't get rid of Dan Hooker. Like, you can't get rid of that dude. So it's like it's going to be – it could be one of those things where it weighs on Dustin. Let's see if he's going and being successful, but not getting rid of him. Do you know what I mean? Right? Because you hear that story sometimes, like, how is this dude still in front of me? And we see that Dan Hooker is incredibly difficult to get rid of. And then right when you think you almost got him, then he's coming back at you and, like, giving something incredible. So
I think Barboza was the only one we've seen take Hooker out, but he was a zombie. The guy.
But it was and he had already given Barboza so much too, though.
Right, and Barboza took him out with leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks. Like, Dustin Poirier is not going to implement that type of game plan. Dustin will box you up, and if opportunity arises to take your neck or your arm, he'll take it. Yeah. But he will box you up and then take you down if need be. But yeah, it's going to be an intriguing matchup in that one.
Well, and obviously Mickey's just going to take Mike down.
That's got to be his goal. You know, it's weird because I say I don't know where this matchup came from, because Mike just came off of a loss, getting knocked out for the first time in his career. Yeah. And now he's co-main eventing. And I know Mike's a draw, but usually when somebody gets knocked out, they don't get rewarded. Yeah. And then Mickey's the guy who won his last fight. Right. And he actually looked really good. He looked really good. One of his best performances in his last fight. But I don't know if it was the caliber opponent that awarded that. But also, this is just a complete, complete opposite matchup. You have Mike Perry, who every one of his wins have been by knockout, basically. Yeah. And then Mickey Gall, who is a phenomenal back taker and a phenomenal guillotine. Yeah. So it'll be kind of an old school type fight. I think Mickey might play with the thought of standing, but his sole priority in that fight should be to take Mike down and take his back.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, how many times does Mickey
take the right hand before he goes in, because that's the thing. I do think, you know, like you said, Mike can knock anybody out. So to me, it's going to be, and Mickey's going to have reach advantage, right? He's got long arms, but I'm just trying to think about what he's got to go through to get there, right? To get the takedown, and he's got to watch out for the right hand.
That's a good point, because you know what? It's not going to be easy. If I was Mickey Gall, the last thing that I would want to have seen was Mike Perry competing in a jiu-jitsu competition a couple months ago. And that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? Like, Mike Perry's a striker, but he keeps talking about how he's fell in love with the ground game.
Yeah.
So if I'm Mickey Gall and I know that my highest percentage chance of winning is a submission, but now Mike Perry is emerged into jiu-jitsu. Right. And when, who was it? Iaquinta. I was up there. It was submission underground. Yeah, it was actually great. Iaquinta had Mike's back for a number of minutes.
Yeah.
I will say, Mickey Gall is on another level. Iaquinta has great wrestling, but his submission skills aren't on Mickey Gall's. Mickey Gall was just awarded his black belt a couple of months ago or so, or within a year ago. But I've rolled with him numerous times, and his back finishing and his guillotine finishing is very, very high level. He's very, very good with it. He knows how to use it. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Mickey gets on Mike's back. Mike's going to be trying to slam him on his head. Mickey's going to be trying to take his head off.
I know.
It's going to be a fun fight. That makes sense, but it's going to be a fun one.
Exactly. Well, but all right, let's see but I definitely picture you for that main event just pacing. Like, and you're shadow boxing. Like, there's no way you're sitting down for Dustin and Dan.
Both of them, main and co-main. I'm going to be on my feet.
All right. Well, let's see if there's anything here. So yeah, they're asking you if the other Louisiana boy is going to get the knockout there.
I think he gets a W. I don't know if you finished this hooker though.
Yeah. All right. Well, mostly people are here talking about some of the other stuff here. Same thing, Bobby Green and OG, all that good stuff. So yeah. So we will be getting that going. I am going to Fight Island. It is going to be working a couple shows,
right.
The last shows. So I believe I'll be there for like Gustafson's comeback against Verdum. And it's funny because now it's like all so far. And so one of the I guess the last one I'm doing is the Benavidez Figueiredo rematch. So that'll be cool. And then I guess the other main event. I'm trying to remember now. It's like it's a month away, and I'm trying to remember what's what, but I know I'll be there for two of them. So it's going to be a whole process. I'm getting some info about like I have to go and then like fly from here to Vegas and then quarantine in Vegas and then go from there. And there's going to be chartered flights or something like that. So I'm some of the information is just starting to trickle in on how this whole thing will be going. And Wade's like, well, what about the such and such? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, what kind of hotel and where are you staying? And what about this and that? I'm like, I don't know, but I think we're all, obviously I know we're all together, but I really don't know what to expect in terms of like, if we're even allowed to leave our little area when we get there. I don't know.
You'd be perfect, Karyn. You get in the hotel room, you turn the heat up, you watch whatever the hell shows you watch. You love that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah, it will be the surface of the sun. I should look right now. Well, I looked at it. They're 11 hours ahead of us, right? So right now, if that means so it's like 2 a.m, right? Like 2 a.m. here or something like this. And let me see what the weather is there now because. This is the kind of reference we need to know. But anyway, I don't.
That's like Thailand time. I always think about Thailand. They're about a 12-hour difference in us.
Right.
So it's flip-flop.
Yeah, so it's 88. It's 88 in Abu Dhabi right now. At 2 a.m. Yeah. So that's cool. So then today, this week it was only a high of 104. So that's not bad.
Well, so hopefully the air conditioning works on Fight Island.
Well, that's why I've been out jumping rope like on my patio at noon. You know what I mean? Like trying to get in it. But yeah, I don't know what to expect. But like you were saying before about all the fights here, and who's ready and who's not. I'm actually excited though to get over there and see some European talent, right? Oh, that's the main event. Dan Hot Chocolate and Nicholas Dalby. Duh. Like, I'm totally psyched for that. So,
Dan Hot Chocolate.
It's nice to go see some European talent, right? Because all we've been getting now are Americans and Brazilians that are based here in the States. So going over there, we'll see a lot more of the European talent on those. So that should be fun.
Wait, Dan Hot Chocolate he's the main event?
He's fighting Nick Dalby. Yeah, I think that's the main event from one of mine.
Wow.
I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, Alan, because I get all this info, and there's 4 fights over there, and so I might be mistaking one card for another one, and I fully admit it, and I fully apologize. But I know that Danny Roberts, Dan Hot Chocolate, is fighting Nick Dalby, and I like that fight a lot. And if you follow both those guys on Instagram, they've both been pretty active. But Nicholas definitely is. It's really cool, actually, his Instagram, like, because he lives in Copenhagen, and he's been taking his workouts like outside in Copenhagen, right by the rivers, and it just looks beautiful. Anyway, too. But that's a nice old school, like, European, 2 great guys from the European scene fighting each other. So, and yeah, like Gustafsson coming back as a heavyweight against our buddy for Doom and stuff. So there'll be some interesting ones. I honestly don't remember everything else on there, but like I said, it'll be good to go over there and see, some of the people that were either, on London cards, or like I was supposed to have been in Russia now in June again, and, all kinds of stuff. So.
That's good. I'm glad you get the call. It'll be fun.
But I'll be doing the reporting. We're still not 100% back up, so it's still not the same thing. It's not the desk. We don't have all of it back. So yeah. But I'll be doing that. But so, folks, okay. Well, thank you for tuning in for this. I know the beginning of it was rough, so thanks to Wade for hanging in there. He's looking up there. I can hear him. Here's the thing: when you've been married, what have we been married 20-something years? You can hear people rolling their eyes. Alan, I don't know how long you and Nicole have been married. Only a couple of years, right? You probably can't hear her rolling her eyes yet, can you?
8-9 years, but I'm not there yet.
Well, I could hear it at the beginning, and then everything, like I said, my screen froze up. We got flipped, but thank you to Wade for hanging in there and producing it. So you can follow him at Wade Eck across the board on all the platforms. I am KB Heat over on Instagram, and Karyn Bryant everywhere else. And of course, we do also have MMA Heat across all platforms. Alan, where can they find you?
Yep, and check me out at Alan Jouban across all media platforms as well, guys.
Awesome. And then these also get audio uploads at MMA.audio. So we'll be back at it talking about that crazy Hooker Poirier fight. It's going to be great. So, Alan, I'm just glad that you're back on the comeback trail and you hit the refresh button with that little trip and everything. So, hopefully you have a great week.
Excited for it. Thank you.
Awesome, folks. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I know a lot of things are starting to open up. I've been wearing a mask out. I don't feel any shame. So I know some people do, some people don't, but I have no problems wearing the mask. But anyway, I hope people are taking care out there while you get open. Like, it is tricky, right? Stuff slowly reopening. You're like, what can I do? What can't I do? But I hope people take care and look after each other out there, because some of the things are spiking again.
I know. I saw that. It's like, I don't want to get into it. Yes, I know. It's like most cases again all over again. So we'll see what happens.
Be careful, people. But thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.
Take care, guys.